Welcome to Luminescence, Common Sense Spirituality, a show designed to share spiritual insights with you so that you can comprehend the universe and how it functions. You are about to experience raised consciousness. This is a place where spiritual principles are shared with the goal of assisting you to expand your understanding of both the seen and unseen worlds. Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality helps you to discern the timeless truths handed down from wise sages through the ages, from the airy-fairy nonsense that is being taught today. Now, here is your host, Sharon Lynn Wyeth.
Welcome to Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality. I'm Sharon Lynn Wyeth, the creator of Mnemology Science, the ability to know all about a person's personality and their soul's purpose simply from their name. And the beautiful inspirational music you've just heard is called Shine. It's by Dee Lamore. And you can hear more of her music by visiting her at her website, which is DLEMOR.com, Dee Lamore. And you know we always end the show with her wonderful song, The Shine. So our topic today is judgment and its dangers. Are we being strong or weak when we judge? Is there a difference between preferences and judgments? How do we get brainwashed into doing something like the Jimmy Jones event? Why would the Bible say, "Let judgment be mine, saith the Lord"? We shall also be talking about words and misconceptions and what our words really create as wordology becomes our biology, projections versus reflections. Is the grid closed, and what does that mean? So there's a lot on the table today, and our wonderful person that's going to be helping us with this is Sherry Anshara. Now, Sherry Anshara is an international best-selling author, professional speaker, former radio host of Conscious Healing, and contributing writer to national and international publications on the subject of the Anshara Method of accelerated healing and abundance and overall wellness. Now, Sherry Anshara utilizes her experience and expertise as a medical intuitive as the foundation of her groundbreaking work with the cellular memory, which she calls the Anshara Method. Now, through the Anshara Method, you access your cellular memories, which hold the root causes of your symptoms, whether mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, or financial. Now, Sherry created these systematic processes so you can rid yourself of unwanted limitations, restrictions, negative thought patterns, and toxic behaviors. She guides you to heal at the cellular level so that you get to enjoy the health, wellness, and abundance in every area of your life. And I would like to add that the book, Know the Name, Know the Health, is coming out in September, and Sherry Anshara gave a great deal of that. She's down as co-author of the book. So, Sherry, welcome to
Yay! Thank you. Thank you. I just love chatting with you. I do. Thank you.
Well, I'm excited today. So let's start at the very beginning. What is judgment from your definition, and what are its dangers?
Well, you know what? The minute the sperm hits the egg, we're in. And so as the mother of cellular memory, we begin to override the memory into the memorization. And the memorization is the judgment. And when we are judging, this is interesting. Judgment is mine, say, is the Lord, right? Well, right. If you are the God within you, then what kind of God judges? The one that isn't clear. And if we are the Godness, the essence of God within us, and we are about connection and heartness, and I call it unconditional acceptance, then why do we judge? We judge people by our own inability to connect to ourselves. And when we judge someone else, we are judging that aspect of our own self that was imprinted in the cellular memorization. For instance, if I judged you, Sharon, and said, you know what, you are so stupid. That is my stupid molecule in there that is being thrown up out of my wordology to stick on you. But that judgment is always self-judgment that we love to blame on others. And in wordology, blame is the be lame game. Ooh, how about that?
Okay. We have obviously had some technical difficulties here. Thank you for everybody that had the patience to hang on with us while we were trying to figure out why lines kept dropping. And while all of a sudden everything went dead, it just says what an important topic we're talking about, that there's interference here today.
Probably being monitored.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sherry, you were talking about we override our memory with memorization, which is a form of judgment, and then everything kind of went dark. So would you mind going back to that?
Absolutely. So what I said as the mother of cellular memory, what I noticed that in memory we have it all. We really do. We have all the answers. It's how we ask the questions. And question means quest at your I am level. Now back to the idea. If you know our belief systems, it says, judgment is mine, saith the Lord. Well, what kind of Lord or God would go around judging people? That is absolutely ridiculous. And you are God. If you're made in God's image, why would you be less? Or even the avatar Jesus said, you shall do as I do and more. So let's get to the idea of judgment. Judgment is really based on a self-lack program. And there are only 3 fears, Sharon, on this planet. I've been writing about this since 1991. How many years ago is that? So it's self-judgment, self-lack, and self-takeaway. So what we do is we self-judge ourselves. And when we self-judge ourselves, we project it. Life is not a reflection of us. It is a projection. So we project that judgment on somebody else in order to validate ourselves. But the truth is, we're really invalidating our own godness, the God within us, who we are. And so when we judge, it is ourselves inside us at that cellular memorization level that said, you weren't good enough, you weren't smart enough, you can't do this. That person has more than I do. There must be something wrong with them. And right and wrong is a judgment of duality instead of what is correct. And people will judge so deeply they would rather die, happening all over the planet now. They would rather be dead and be right than be correct for life. And so that self-judgment is a duality program of self-lack, and then you take away that experience of life through judgment, and no one ever gets the full Monty because that judgment gets projected, and then the other person goes in the adversarial role, and then they judge. And so we're the lords that are judging other people. Can you imagine who signed up for that program?
Well, it seems like a lot of people have signed up for that program. So is there a difference between having preferences and having judgments?
Having what again?
Preferences, like I preferred this over that. Is that not a form of judgment, or is it different?
No, it's different, because if it's correct for you, I use this example all the time. This is the practicality of what I teach and what I, experience. So here is, I don't like chocolate, Sharon. I cannot stand chocolate. It's like disgusting to me. I don't like it. It's not correct for me. But do you know how many chocolate gifts or chocolate I serve to my friends? Because they love chocolate. So I could say, you're stupid. You eat chocolate. Meh, 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 meh. But the fact is, I really love knowing they love chocolate. So it's just not correct for me. So am I judging them because of what my preference is? No. Preference is the variety, the spice of life. That's why on this planet, in this universe, there's so many preferences. But it is that insidious judgment program that affects, effects, and infects people, and it ruins a relationship. Well, Sharon, you should have done this. And the judgment is shouldn't all over you when I'm really shouldn't on myself. So if we stop shouldn't, then maybe we could have a conversation where we listen instead of heary through that left computer duality brain. How about that? So preference.
It doesn't even sound nice to be shit on.
I know. I don't let anybody shit on me. If they say you should do this, I go, I don't shit on me, but I thank you for that, and I'll be happy to shit on you. How would you like me to shit on you?
That word being used that way doesn't even sound like a nice word. It sounds like a 4-letter word, even though it's not a 4-letter word. It's a 6-letter word.
I know, but it sounds like one.
So, Sherry, how do we get brainwashed into doing something like the Jimmy Jones event? And there's so much brainwashing going on today, and it's incredible to me. How do we allow ourselves to get brainwashed?
To fit in, and we don't fit. To fit in, to go along with the crowd, so that we all fit in together. How many people walked into the camps because they were told they had to, and in the idea of fitting in, someone then can't fit in. And that is what the oppositional issue is in duality. Duality that was created here. And how does it happen? It's insidious, and it's little by little by little from the minute the sperm hits the egg. Because if the parents have these insidious belief systems that I call BS or bullshit of duality, that's what happens. And that insidiousness, it goes into the left computer brain. So people will say, you know what, Sherry, I'm half out of my mind. And I go, your head's up your ass and you're half-ass too. So if you're only... But the left brain controls, that's duality, to the right male side. It has zip to do with gender. So then we recreate generation after generation after generation. So what happens, it lowers the resistance, the resonance in the body, and people get sick. So every illness, as you know, we collaborated on your book, that every illness, every disease, every trauma, everything in the body is emotionally based, and the emotions run through the left computer brain. It's like when you have your computer up, you have all this stuff running in the background, correct? I don't care what's running. I want to see what's here, what's up front. And so in the left brain, that's all that brain washing. And it is so easy to brainwash people. Oh, my God. So what happens to that fabulous right creative brain that goes to the female side, not gender?
We want to know that right after this break. We'll come back and find out what happens to the right creative side of the brain. Stay tuned.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The why is hidden in your name. Sharon Lynn Wyeth has created a scientific way of deciphering your name to reveal your contract for this lifetime. And your name even specifies the 7 areas that are subsets of your soul's overall goal. Your name identifies who you are to both yourself and others. What does your name say about you? Contact Sharon Lynn Wyeth at info@knowthename.com for your stunning name review.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 Food Banks strong.
Welcome back to Luminescence, Common Sense Spirituality. You are with Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and my special guest today is Sherry Anshara. Now, right before the break, we were talking about how people get brainwashed, and we talked a little bit about the left side of the brain, and then the question was asked, what happens to the right side, the creative side of the brain? Okay, Sherry, take it away.
Well, what happens to that creative side? It gets shut down. It's like having an organ in your body that shuts down that isn't working properly. And so it's easy in only having the left brain. The practical side of it, not so practical, is to keep you off balance. And so you talked about wordology, you mentioned that. Well, that is how people get brainwashed and off track and off balance. And what is one of the things that if you go around, you go to this, take this, do this, and it's going to balance you out? How can you balance out your body when only your half a brain is working? So in what I do is connect people to that clear cellular memory of who they are, and this miraculous thing begins to happen. Their left brain and right brain begin to connect. And I actually have a technique to do this, of connecting right brain to left brain, and I do it myself. So now let's go back. How does this brainwashing? So if you go out through history, let's go to World War II. And the Japanese were our adversaries. So people called them dirty Japs. Oh, they're just Japs. Whammo, that Jap word gets smacked in. How about in Hitler? The Jews are bad. The Jews are bad. And then, you know what? And then things begin to change. And then guess what? The Japanese became our friends. And then who became our enemies? It had to be the North Koreans because of all the things they do. Now, I'm not supporting good, bad, or indifferent in duality, but that's how they do it, and it becomes insidious. And I'm going to give you an example. Right now, I supported a 14-year-old this past week. Listen to this insidious brainwashing, 14 years old. And in school, they told her she was an it. She was no longer a her or a she, and that she could take even a male name if she'd like, because she's really an it. And everybody, what is an it? Remember, cousin it? It is not a person. You cannot tell me that they're not brainwashing children. Your brain, your left half a computer brain, isn't even developed, for Christ's sake, till you're 25. And now they're implanting. And this child came home and told her parents she is now an it.
Well, an it stands for IT. That's how you spell it.
Exactly, Sharon, exactly. And it also stands for AI. And there's some television shows now, they will remain anonymous, that have to do with aliens. And now they're saying in order to be the gods like the aliens, and there's nothing extra about them. They just had better technology. Wake up, humans, wake up. And so they say it's okay now to turn people into AIs. Could that be something going on with the vaccines? Who knows? I do know, as a matter of fact. But the fact is, that is a fact of how people get brainwashed so easily. It's called, well, let's get on the bandwagon. Let's do it. Let's make us against them. So before, it was a nation against nation. Now it's people against people within a nation. Isn't that fabulous? Let's tell on the neighbors. Let's watch what they're doing. Isn't that what they did in Nazi Germany? Isn't that
exactly what they did then?
And communist Russia, isn't that what they... Let's go back to Attila the Hun. Let's go back to the Roman Empire. They did the same techniques because the people who run the show know exactly how it works. Except now it has to do with turning people into non-humans. Wow. All through brainwashing. That's why you must be really clear about what you're reading, what you're watching, and how is it taking into you? How are you allowing it to be imprinted in your body, affected, effected, or infected?
So in other words, where we're putting our attention is highly important, because where we're putting our attention literally has the ability then to help brainwash us.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And I use this example all the time, and my clients are going, oh, if you tell me this one more time. But I remember in school as a very little girl, and I raised my hand and said, well, you know, it's so interesting. If Columbus discovered America, I didn't say it's so interesting, but if Columbus discovered America, how come people lived here? And you know, the teacher implanted something in me that was the best, and he said, Sherry, memorize it and pass the test. And this light bulb went on, the light bulb. And I thought, I got to start researching, though I didn't know what that word was at the time. That was ridiculous. And that's what we are told, don't question. Never question authority. You are the authority of yourself. You better start questioning. And I questioned, and they just told me to memorize. And then one day I realized with Real Eyes, he memorized that to memorize me. But what is the memorization going on right now? What is it? To turn on people? Been there, they've done that again. Been there, done that. So we must be very, very clear before we start judging others and before we start blaming others. Because you know what I always ask? What brilliance was lost in those children or those adults in those camps around the world? In any of them. What was lost that they might have had an incredible invention? They might have had an incredible way to do something, and yet they were shut down and stifled. And that's what's happening now. And these chemicals are going into the brain. They're going into the brain, and they're also going in to prevent people from procreating. What a great way for depopulation. So what you talk about consciousness, this is what this is about. And this is what it is about, becoming conscious beyond the duality program that we did the same thing over and over and over again.
Well, it looks to me like history is definitely repeating itself again, because the Weimar government that was in before Hitler literally kept printing money and printing money, and just like our 40% inflation since January that we've had here, and the printing of money, until people would literally take wheelbarrows of money down and able to buy a loaf of bread, and you got paid daily if you were working, because they knew that the next day that money wouldn't have the same buying power. And
it doesn't.
And there's a story that when the two boys were sent to go get a loaf of bread, and they had this wheelbarrow of money down there, and they left the wheelbarrow in the middle of the street, both going to either direction to see if somebody, would take the wheelbarrow of money for a loaf of bread. And they came back, the money was dumped in the middle of the street, but somebody stole the wheelbarrow because that's what had value.
Exactly. And if you look at it, let's go back to the 1950s. My decade that I picked on the most is the 1950s. If you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. And they created these insipid programs to make people, that's how your family is supposed to be. Well, what was a loaf of bread? 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 at the max? Because whatever something is worth is what people are brainwashed to what the worth is. And if we don't have worth, yes, absolutely. And if we don't have our own worth of our own self, our own talents, our own skills, that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. No worth.
So, Sherry, would that come over also, that some people charge a lot more than other people because your fee that you're charging is comparable to the worth or value of what you feel your work is worth?
Absolutely. I have clients that have gotten rid of stage 4 cancer, And I will have to say, I have never healed anybody in my life. And people say, do you heal me? I'm not going to heal you. I have the tools that I created that to heal myself from some dramas that I created from accidents or whatever. And that's when I discovered the brilliance of the cellular memory. Laying in a hospital bed with a smashed head, a broken neck, a broken back, a brain out of place, didn't even know. And I'm laying there, and I have all these dire predictions that someone said my life would be like. And remember, they're the authority figure. I'm not wronging them, but I'm the authority figure. And I laid there, and I looked at my arm, and I said, if I cut my arm, it's going to heal, whether I put antibiotics or not. And it might have a scar, might not. Why do people have scars? And I'm not even talking about physical scars, the emotional scars. And that began in 1991, laying in that hospital bed. And so after I was there a week, I got up and I said, I'm going home. And they said, this is Connecticut, and you live in Michigan. I said, I know. I already called a cab. I'm taking it to the Hartford airport, and I'm going to go home. And they said, well, we're not ready to release you. I said, well, good for you, but I'm ready to get released, get on with my life, and figure out something. And that's what I did and figured it out. Was it easy? No. Was it tough? Yeah. But guess who's the one that created all this? I am responsive, not responsive bullshit for me or anybody else, but I'm responsive to myself to listen to my body. And when we are listening to the brainwashing, we're just doing, oops, I did it again. In what year is it? Your computer brain does not know what the calendar is, doesn't know what the century is. You may say, yes, I do. No, you don't, because it's the same crap. And I've had people come to me, and we laugh about it. They'll say, why do I keep drawing the same person to me? It's the profile. It's the profile. Who is that person? Let's not wrong them. Why are you doing it? Can't change the what till you get to the why. So when I have people begin to comprehend their language, their wordology, they can't get sucked in. You know what? When people attempt to get me in an argument, it's hilarious. It is hilarious because there's no way that I'm going to waste my energy, my life, and what I'm doing to argue with someone. Because if that is their belief system, their BS, their bullshit, it's theirs, not mine. I'm not taking it in. Isn't that fabulous?
Well, I think it's wonderful because it's a lot easier to stay at peace with yourself and within yourself if you become what you would be calling the conscious observer.
Yes, NEO, non-emotional observer. That is the best place to be. And so I actually did a Facebook Live on peace, P-E-A-C-E, or P-I-E-C-E. And people say, well, I'm going to pick up the pieces. No, you don't have to be in peace when you have the peace within you. It doesn't mean that life can't be challenging every day. Yes, it is. Absolutely. But the fact is, we did not come here to suffer. Suffer the little children to come unto him. Who in the hell wrote that bullshit? We did not come here to suffer. We didn't come here for lessons. This is wordology. Lessons are less on, that turns into moron. Moron? Really? How much moron would you like?
It's like, when I get through giving a name reading, some people will say, well, thank you for the advice. And I'll go, I didn't give you any advice because I do not add vice to your life. I just make suggestions and share information.
I love that. And that is absolutely the truth. It's like when someone will come to me, really, because, I'm weird. I can't help it, but I love it. And I have a lot of fun, and my clients do too, and my friends do too. When people will come to me and they'll say, can you fix me? I go, do I look like a tube of crazy glue? I can't fix you. You're not broken. You might be a little screwed up, but you're not broken.
Well, it's the same thing when somebody comes to me and says, I need to get back on path. And I think, how can you get off path? Your path is whatever your path is.
Yeah, even if you're upside down and levitating and going backwards. It doesn't even make any sense. And someone came in and said, I'd like to get back to my original weight. I went 6 pounds, 5 ounces. What original
weight? That was really nice, wasn't it? Yeah, we need to change the scales to make that one happen.
I know. I go, geez, I keep going back to my original weight. That would be ridiculous. It'd be awfully hard to be in my mother's womb right now. It'd be a little crowded. So we have to see within ourselves, and that's the seeing part. And you know what? Follow your intuition. Intuition is not booga booga. It's not woo woo. I get after the metaphysicals. I'm not judging. I'm just telling you. Intuition. If anybody on this, your listeners, if you take anything away as a tool, is intuition is just your natural, innate ability to discern what is correct for you or not right or wrong, but what is correct for you. Isn't that amazing?
Well, and it seems to me like we teach our kids, they have it, they come in, and by age 7, we're teaching them how not to use it.
Oh, we do it right from the womb. I have an article called Baby's First Connection that was for a very famous baby doctor who, is globally known, and she's delivered, babies in India and Bangladesh and movie star babies. But the minute the sperm hits the egg, you're in. And when people listen, I've been in delivery rooms, home births, it is so amazing for parents to go through that 9 months consciously connecting to those babies will just chat and chat and chat. They will. And so here's an example of memorization. This is a fact. A lady came to me, and she was afraid of needles, totally terrified of needles. She told me $200,000 over the years in therapy. Not longing it, that's a lot of investment. And then they told her she was nuts. They gave her shock treatment, throw her in the nut house. And in less than an hour session, we found out why she was afraid of needles, because in the 50s, her mother attempted to abort her with knitting needles, and that's what they did in the 50s, and that's a fact. Now, did she ever have a relationship with her mother? No, but at least she had the power to know the truth from being afraid of needles and everybody calling her crazy and nuts. Even
that truth sets you free. I think that is one of the truest statements out there, that when you get to the truth, it really does set you free.
Yes, it does. And it's your truth, not somebody else's, that could be different than yours, and that's okay. It's, and people say, well, we have to fit in. Fit into what? Fit into what? Or, the boy has to grow up to fit into his dad's pants. Well, his dad weighs 250 pounds. I can hardly wait.
When we come back after this next break, Sherry, I really want to get into words and wordology and deciphering some of the words or tearing them apart and saying what they really mean. So, everybody, that's what we're going to do right after this break. Stay tuned.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Are you feeling lost, confused, absolutely clueless? No way out, over, under, or through? Then it's time to have the Light Keepers, through their conduit, Sharon Lynn Wyeth, guide you by shining their light, illuminating the right path for you. Let Sharon share the wisdom of the ancient masters to guide you on what is coming next for you and to show you the silver lining in your current circumstances. Contact Sharon Lynn Wyeth at info@knowthename.com for a joyful, info-packed Lightkeepers session.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour,
if you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Luminescence, Common Sense Spirituality. I'm your host, Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and our special guest today is Sherry Anshara. So, Sherry, when we're starting into wordology and taking words apart, would you mind starting with what is the definition or the difference between feelings and emotions?
Oh, Sharon, that is such a fabulous question. Feeling is in the heart. Even science has said that the resonance, and it's about resonance, folks, it's not frequency and vibration, they're byproducts. The resonance in the heart is so much more expanded, and that's how you feel. And thinky emotionality is run through the left computer brain. And the people that run these programs, they know that. So if they can trip your emotions to control you and manipulate you, they will do that. And in that emotionality is how we go into the duality programs of right and wrong. But feeling is such a difference. Feeling is making that connection. I actually have a Sherryism. I feel, so I cannot thinky. Isn't that a good one?
It's a good one because it's important to stay in those feelings and not convert them through your left brain into emotions.
Exactly, and that's the fight. That's what we do. We fight ourselves because of all of these emotional challenges of self-judgment, back to what we talked about in the beginning. And so that's what I do, is actually connect it all. You know, like what's going on over here or over here or over here in all these belief systems and all these groups, and to connect it so that it will feel correct to you or not. And the more correct you are, the more you feel. Here's an example. I was coming back from California with a friend of mine, and we were driving up this road from 8 to 10. And it's a really, lonely road at the end. You don't see anybody. But I had this creepiest feeling. And I said, you know what, that there is a car or a truck or something behind us quite a ways back. Well, it turned out when we were stopped at, because it's close to the border, at Checkpoint Charlie there, they were actually drug dealers. Isn't that amazing? And this is like about 12 o'clock at night. And then, in the middle of the desert, nowhere. And so when we were stopped, they asked us if we were okay, but the border guards actually got this truck, but I could feel it. That is your intuition, and you feel it. It's like eating a meal. It's what feels correct to you. That is what give us this day our daily bread means. It means the food of consciousness. Are you allowing yourself to be fed bullshit? Or is it a fine cuisine, a food that supports you? And that comes through feeling.
I really like that statement. That's the food, that our daily bread is the food of consciousness. Okay, so in that last talk that you just said, you said manipulate you. And I know that you have a lot of those words that start with a man. So talk to us about that set of words so we can all be aware of when man shows up in a word.
Okay, it could be manifest, manufacture, and when we are only running through the left brain, get it, folks out there, everybody in this planet, everyone on this planet in duality is male, has zip to do with gender. Why do I say that? Because the control through the left computer brain goes to the right male side. Manifest, manufacture, manipulate. That doesn't matter if you're male or female. Doesn't matter what your age. And that is how people have been taught to be brainwashed through the male side.
And I heard a new one that I would love your opinion on. When I was down giving readings in Alabama recently, somebody down there said, look at the word when I always say bless you. And they go, look at the word. It's be less.
Yes, be less.
And I thought, okay, I don't want to bless anybody anymore. I don't want them to be less than who they are.
But I say blessings because blessing is inside you and the G is the God within you. You are God. You're just not a God, but you are the God within you. And Sharon, I'm so bold. I teach people how to be God. I even have a chart, but I call it Godness so I don't have, people, going crazy. You are God. It's the essence of the God within you. If we're made in God's image, whether it's Buddha or whoever the heck it is, why are we less? And that's why they say, be less, be less. But when you're blessings, it's ing, the God within you, plural.
Well, and a lot of Yeshua's teachings was the Father and I are one, which really says that, I look at him as an example, that if we all want to aspire to his understanding, then that would also mean that God and I are one for everybody.
Yes, and God is not male.
Separation.
No, and God is not male. So this is what I always wondered. If all the gods are male, then how come, your audience, don't panic here, get over it, archangels, there are no such thing. They were whatever that came here and talked or whatever. So my question is, why do they all wear dresses and sandals? Is there something wrong with them? I'm not fighting them, but how come all the gods are male? Even when they had gods and all the female gods were either bitches or whores. I could never get over that. So,
well, jokingly, I think whores have more fun than the bitches, but anyway.
But you know what the fact is about? Because in the brainwashing, they do not like you. They wouldn't love you. To tap into the female creative side that brings you into the godness within you. I actually have charts that I've created. And you know what? What is the word Yahweh? It's 4 letters. It's 4 letters. It's in the Hebrew alphabet. And you know what it means? To create, implement, manifest, and actualize. That's what it means. So through my female, I create. I organize through my right brain. I implement through my body. My Christed consciousness that is clear. And that's how I implement. And through my left brain, I organize what I'm manifesting and manufacturing. And through my heart, through my hands, that are extensions, and the Hebrew alphabet goes in the palms of my hands, I actualize. That's the name of Yahweh, and that's who we all are. But we've been told we were less, that we're only 3, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Who the hell is the Holy Ghost? Hallelujah. I mean, that is ridiculous. And when children are taught that they are God, not a God, but the God within them, can you imagine what they could create, especially these new kids on the block? The first wave came in 2002, and the second wave came in last year, and they have the God in this particle. They do. Why do you think they're, aborting children as soon as they're born? That's why, because I'm just telling you this, all of you, the truth. I have no agenda on this at all. I've been saying it for years. And by the way,
Sherry, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and they wanted to have a session with you, I know that you give classes, but don't you also do long-distance sessions over the phone with people?
Absolutely. I do long distance, and in September I'm going to have a weekend teaching how to see the fields, the aura electromagnetic, how to remote view, all of this stuff in real time and a wonderful getaway weekend here. And actually, you can get a hold of me at my website, SherryAnshara.com. And my email is sherry@sherryanshara.com. And I also do Insider Secrets. Write this down, Insider Secrets of the Shift, bi-monthly. My next one will be Wednesday, July 28th at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And what I do is put it all together. We take it from here, we take it from there, so that we are not divided within ourselves. When you are divided in yourself, that is when judgment begins. Wow. As we tie it all together.
So I want to spell your name for everybody, because Sherry can be spelled so many different ways, and you do the typical way, which is Sherry. And your last name is Anshara, is Anshara. So it's SherryAnshara.com. I just thought, I usually do that sooner in the show, and I want to make sure I got that in. We have just a few minutes left, Sherry. What would you like to share about wordology to help people get more clear when they're listening to different words on how to dissect them and understand what they're really saying?
Listen in your heart to those words in whatever language it is. And how do those words impact you? Do they affect you in the most wondrous ways? Do they have the effect on you, or do they infect you and make you less and not good enough and make you judge yourself to judge others? So words have an impact. I have worked with individuals. I didn't speak their language. We had an interpreter, and you know what? They got to their core of their own truth. So I'm all over Facebook and LinkedIn, and, I'll give you my phone number. It's 480-609-0874. I'm in Arizona on Pacific Standard Time. And Sharon, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share the truth.
I love having you on. I always think that you give everybody a lot to think about, and then they can see if it's correct for them or not. But it definitely causes somebody to really consider some different points of view. So I so appreciate you being on. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Our next week's guest is Jennifer Euricio. And we're going to be talking about the spiritual money and relationships. How come so many spiritual people don't have money? Or how do you create that? What's your natural yield considering finances? And we're really just going to be talking about your relationship with finances and how you create more abundance and do it according to universal laws. So that ought to be a really interesting show when Jennifer Euricio comes and joins us next week. And you know that we always like to end our show with this wonderful music by Dee Lamore. And again, if you would like more, you can go to her website, DLEMOR.com. And of course, you can always find me at knowthename.com if you would like a name reading with me. I love sharing that. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask any of the guests, just email them to me ahead of time. And you can always get who's coming next. It's all on at knowthename.com on the schedule page. You just go to each Thursday and it'll say on the radio, it says Luminescence Radio Show, and you can always look up who's coming and what the show is going to be about. You can also go backwards in time and listen to the archives. This is Sharon Lynn Wyeth, thanking you for tuning in and taking your time to listen, and now signing off.
So long ago, gazing in the mirror, an image of an angel smiling back at her. No wounds or imperfections, just beauty and its glow. Her laughter and her heart, a reflection of her soul. And I want to shine like the sun and smile to stop the rain. And I want to dance of life stroke the canvas of her. The light slightly dimmed, her reflection unseen, and all that she knew, and all that would be, it vanished like the sun